If I can just invite everyone to take a seat, please. We'd like to get started. Just a reminder that if this event is being filmed and if you don't want to be filmed, then this side of the audience will not be filmed. So if you weren't aware of that, this is the side to not be filmed. I'll explain more about why that's happening in a minute. To begin with, we were going to have a smoking ceremony by Uncle Gilbert, but unfortunately there's been some sorry business in the Bundjulung nation and he couldn't come. However, we're going to have an acknowledgement by Sue Higginson and Janelle Saffin. So thank you for coming up. Oh, can I give you... Do you want to... There's only one. Is it okay? Do you want to...
We'll hold
you
it
can
together.
use this one as well.
We could do some singing together. Back at...
No, we're not singing.
Okay, I'll hold it and we'll speak together.
Yeah, we shall. Okay.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah.
Or would you like me
Oh,
to?
well, you go first.
Okay. That light is incredibly bright,
we can't
and
see
I
a
can't
thing.
see you all, but I can feel you. We can feel you. So look, we have been informed Uncle Gil can't be here, and I know that all of you know that he's just made such an incredible, tremendous effort at welcoming everybody as we recover and we rebuild and we reopen together. But tonight he's otherwise engaged, and he's engaged with many others in sorry business. So this evening we are here to welcome you and this fabulous, beautiful gathering of people, and we acknowledge the Widjabal-Wiabal people. We're on Widjabal-Wiabal country. We pay our respects to all the elders, past, present and emerging. We know that this land is unceded land, and that every day we take steps here, we do it with respect and love and admiration and acknowledgement in our hearts.
And with Uncle Gilbert, I want to acknowledge him because he's been part of this journey. He's been part of our journey in a lot of ways, a central part and part of the journey of the reopenings, the healing, and being in step with us. So it would have been lovely to have him here, but I just want to acknowledge what a great leader and mentor he is in our community. And also I want to acknowledge that this is the land of the Bundjulung nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present and emerging, and recognise that the country we're standing on always was, always is, always will be Indigenous land. And to be here tonight and to be here for us to listen. And I just want to say thank you to the organisers for not just the idea and the need of it, but the way that you've approached it, and the way that you want us here to be here and listen to you. And I hope that this forms part of the healing. Thank you.
Here. Right, thanks, Andy. Thank
you. A big welcome everyone for coming tonight. This is a community event. I thought maybe you could take a moment. I know there's been a lot of mingling already, but look around, see people that you know, give people a wave, people that you don't know as well. Acknowledge that there's people from different parts of the Northern Rivers here. And once again, thank you, Janelle and Sue, for being here to listen to the community. The Star Court, where we are, is a pretty fitting venue. I'm not sure how many people are aware, but SJ told us that it opened in 1921, 102 years ago. It opened on a Monday, and that weekend was severe flooding in Lismore. And it was used as a refuge. So we're really grateful to be here tonight in this amazing venue. We're here tonight to connect as a community. This is about a community having a conversation about the recovery and the reset that is called for and necessary in the recovery process. Briefly, my name's Andrew. You can call me Andy. I'm going to be the MC and the timekeeper with little bell, little triangle. So this is just a tip to help with the facilitation and the flow of the event tonight. This is about when we're having this conversation that we respect each other and honour each other and are here to listen to everybody, as many people as we can, basically. I grew up in Ghana country, Adelaide. I've lived in Lismore since June last year. I live in South Lismore now, and in fact, the house that I'm living in is due for the old possession vacant settlement on Monday. So I've got a pretty busy weekend ahead, in fact, getting out. I came to Lismore to volunteer in the recovery to offer my support to this awesome community. That started off putting up gyprock walls in some houses, and then I was working, helping the council restore public parks assets. And then the last 6 months I've been volunteering with Reclaim Our Recovery, which is a grassroots community group trying to get a just recovery for the region led by the community. It's really an honour and privilege to be here helping with this important conversation tonight. So basically tonight, this conversation has two halves. The first half is, let's be honest, what's been shit in the recovery so far. There's a lot to go through there. And the second half is about what we need for a recovery that we can trust, for the reset to the recovery. In the middle of this, we're going to have an interval, chance to stretch your legs, go outside, grab a drink, use the bathrooms. And we're very privileged to have Bella Frankie going to be performing here as well in that interval, or after the interval, and the premiere of their new single, Underwater Home, as well, which I'm very excited to hear. At the end, we're going to do a bit of consensus gathering around some of the key themes that are emerging, and we're going to gather for a group photo. And also, anyone who's interested, probably go to the Sherwood afterwards for drinks and food. So once again, the timekeeping process with the triangle is just a tool for facilitation. So basically, we want to hear from people so that'll go off at about a minute. And it's just about, if you can say what you need to say in 30 seconds, we get to hear from twice as many people. So just to bear in mind. It's a tool for honouring each other here tonight. And in terms of honouring and respecting, I'd like to acknowledge and recognise those who lost their lives in the flood and in the aftermath, and all those we've lost from our community, people who've been forced to leave, and potentially also people who've been trapped as well. There has been a lot of suffering since the flood. We're hoping that this space of listening and speaking is a therapeutic space, but if you need extra support, we have some wonderful volunteers from the Red Cross at the back of the hall. The basic housekeeping, the emergency exits are on both sides here and at the back as well. Toilets are up the back, at the top of the stairs on the left and the right. And yeah, this is the time for us to have a conversation. And it is being filmed because we have invited lots of politicians and decision makers to come here tonight, and not many of them could make it. So we're filming it, we're capturing this, documenting it, that this is the community coming together and having a voice and having a say. And we've invited them to the table because we haven't necessarily been invited to their table. So after this event, we'll share the footage with you, we'll share it with the media, we'll share it with the people who couldn't make it, the politicians, and we're hoping it's a really constructive tool in where we are at 18 months on. So now I'd like to introduce Sarah, who's going to facilitate these conversations tonight. Sarah Robertson. She's a mother, an artist, a business owner, a social psychology academic, former professional surfer, multi-generational Northern Rivers local, and freelance author. Not often you get to read out one of these bios. Sarah lives in South Murwillumbah, and has lived in her home on the banks of the Tweed River since 2010. So, thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Sandy. What a really lovely intro from one of your very new and beautiful community members. Andy's a really great example of the draw of this community. I've spent a lot of time in this town. I went to Trinity, I went to SCU. My history is smeared 5 generations thick over the whole joint, from casino all the way up to the border. So hence my huge honour to be here as an extremely impartial and bipartisan representative of opinion. I work quietly and academically. This is my first little step up in front of everybody. Usually fairly quiet on the old, here I am front. So thanks for having me. I think let's kick this off. I've got a little bit of a spiel to set us up, if you will indulge me. So thank you for coming to the event. So why are we here? We are here for you, the community, and we are here for each other. This is your space tonight. The story that you collectively tell and the visions for the future that you offer are intended to start the reset process. So just keep that in mind. We're here together. And let's be honest, we've already headed our own recovery for the most part. Community are the first responders. We are the drivers of the private sector that fills the gaps to recover, rebuild, and then begin to prepare again, which I know firsthand's a nervous life. Our voice is important and it matters. We've had a collective experience, but we've also been toiling, either alone or within groups. And it's at this moment that I'd really like to honour the community groups in an honour roll. We've collated it, but I'm sure that there's so many more. So I'd like to honour the Corey Mail Hub and Corey Kitchen. Legends, total, 100%. Trees Not Bombs, Community Kitchen and Social Space. Insulate Lismore, Demould. Resilient Lismore, of course, that stoic, lovely group. All of the hubs and cores and neighbourhood centres, all of them, Wardell, Mooloolaba, Woodburn, all of them, they are struggling. I know firsthand they are struggling. And they do so much work. Hearts and Hands and Be Visible from Woodburn. The Mid-Richmond Neighbourhood Centre at Evans Head, that little tiny town held the region, that teeny tiny little holiday town that I am very much embedded in. Hub 2484 from Mooloolaba, which I mentioned. Shedding Community Workshops, sorry, I don't mean to roll over my own community, but Shedding Community Workshops Inc. from Mullumbimby. Mullumbimby and District Neighbourhood Centre Incorporated, well done. That's a process, don't we know? Holy dooly. Main Arm Disaster Recovery. Yeah, hard work up there. The Heart Atlas at Bundjulung. Big isolated community. Amazing people. Lismore-based grassroots groups such as Relocate Our Homes. Harper, legend. My mate. NRRC Watch, giving us all the updates. East Lismore Flood Action Group, Lismore Drains Community Action, etc. So if you're from another group, and I know if you're like me, you're part of about 5 or 6 on some level, we honour you. We all do, and let's honour each other. Yep. Okay. So we begin this first half by sharing stories of failings. It's very big, and it's at this point I really want to mention our big feelings. We've all felt everything and more in the past 18 months. Despair, fear. I don't need to list them, we know them. But we've also been very bloody angry. And you know, that's okay. That's a motivating thing if we harness it. And we're here for each other for that too. We've also felt joy, and we've felt gratitude, and we've had little victories that have given us hope. And we've had that. We've had them all. As we share, especially in this first half, we are going to trigger each other. So be mindful of that and know that we all get it, you know. We're not needing to preach to the converted. We want to make good points because this is our time to do that, you know. So you have complete permission to move if you need to. I warmly invite you to move your body at any time. If you need to shift your energy, take a break, and a reminder again that we have that mental health first aid. Really important, use it. You're not like, you know, if you get up and leave, I'm not going to be offended because it's not my show. I'm just a facilitator. I'm just setting it up. So let me start now with the 3 questions that were posed. There were 3 questions per part to try and set the scene for this, and then we'll begin. So number 1, what is the main reason you think the recovery program has failed up to this point, and what impact has it had on you? Number 2, what has been damaging or needlessly difficult? Number 3, what experiences have eroded your trust in the process? So as we share these stories, we're being mindful that they are going to frame the next section of this night, which will be about resolution. So let's try and be really succinct and echo all of the lovely things that Andy also suggested. So this is the time that I open it up to you, the community, to offer anyone that would like to start to share stories. We'll bring mics to you, so if you have a story that you would like to share, anything, we've got really, it's really open. Yep.
Hello, thank you. Bundjulung catchment is almost 3 times the size of the Lismore catchment. We were isolated for 6 weeks. Our community has a 77-year-old levee that was destroyed, and Rouse have been unable to secure funding to repair the levee properly. That means Bundjulung, Swan Bay and Woodburn are now in extreme danger in just minor floods. The SES are extremely worried. The NRRC has mapped us as danger zone, the CSIRO has mapped us as danger zone, and the council has mapped us as danger zone. Homes out here in Bundjulung have been prioritised as category 1, but we are now told buybacks will not be occurring for properties over 2 hectares. Homes mapped as house raise are told there is no support. The government says they are prioritising help based on the June maps that they authorised, so honour them. State Minister Dibbs and Federal Minister Watt are aware of the danger we're in, yet the Mid-Richmond has been ignored. What are they waiting for? We count too.
It's amazing. Thank you so much. And just a little point too, that we're telling each other stories, you know. This isn't the Sarah show, it's everybody. That was amazing. Thank you. That's a really great share. Thank you. Really amazing. And a great point about the fact that, you know, so many of us are not only, you know, responding in our own recovery to our own home, but we're responding with our community. Some of us are dealing with, big things like infrastructure. How on earth does a community mend infrastructure? that's not our responsibility. That's incredible. Thank you so much. It's a really wonderful share. Has that inspired anybody else that wants to jump in and begin with their story? Yes, sir.
Oh, hi. I can't really speak for other areas apart from Lismore. What I'd like to say was the recovery in Lismore worked fantastic for the first 2 weeks after the flood, when local anarchy prevailed. Our house was cleaned out, our street was cleaned out, everything was cleaned out before the army even got here. All done by the community. We were back in our house, all fixed up, better than what it ever was, by the beginning of July. We felt fantastic until got a telephone call from the NRRC saying, "You're going to have to take a buyback." Buying back properties or retreating from the floodplain can only work if everyone goes and every business. Otherwise, you're spending a lot of money and leaving half the people and all the businesses still in the soup. So I would recommend that the buybacks more or less cease at this point, and any further money should be devoted to fixing up all the houses, particularly the people who have been hanging out for a buyback and didn't get one, unlike us, who didn't want one and did get one. Weird. So any further money should just simply go to flood mitigation, really. That will help the entire community. If you just remove half of the population from the northern rivers, you've removed half of the customers for the businesses who have to remain. So the whole thing was misconceived from the beginning. Then after that, it was mismanaged, misled, miss everything.
Yeah.
So that's more or less what I've got to say.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a really good wrap up, and it's again, huge themes. Of course, that's right. In the first 2 weeks, it was the community. We had our street completely clean. Everybody was free to go back in their homes the best that they could, if they could, and start to deal with that. And they're huge themes. Thank you. And mismatched solutions. I think that's been one of the most disempowering elements of the entire recovery. I've watched the process really closely. I've been quite hopeful as well, since after 2017 there was absolutely no solution offered to us as a community. So, I think that was the thing that really got us a little bit, was that wave of hope that we were going to get a solution, and the sort of the mismatching of solutions, the lack of community sort of dealing with the complexities of the community in a way that was, very good for us. Anyone else would like to share? Thanks, that was really good. Yes?
Thank you. My name's Robert May, and I live in Woodburn at the moment, and will be, I'm just saying g'day to Janelle. I have claimed buyback. I do not wish to, I'll be 86 next month, I do not wish to remain in a home that's 40 metres from Rocky Mouth Creek, and I had 4 metres over my land during the flood. I will be certainly seeking buyback. I'm pushing hard to achieve that. The 2 hectare regulation has got to be scrapped or sidestepped, and I will be leaving Woodburn, but I will intend to maintain my contact with the business people who've spent millions putting their business back together. For what future, I don't know. I'm concerned about that. But we will come back to Woodburn frequently to support the businesses which have begun there and continued, like Daniel at the hotel, have done a tremendous job in building the thing up and providing places for the community to come. So I'm a buyback proponent, and if I don't get buyback, Mr Premier, better look out.
Thank you very much. That's such an important voice. If my father could have made it tonight, he would have said the exact same thing there in South Ballina. If they could stay, they would, but they can't. And he's got all the same sort of loyalties. So, and you know, and that's true. A buyback for some people is exactly, you know, what they need at that time. And these are the things that, you know, we're really hoping with the reset that we can address. You know, we need to start to voice these complexities so that, you know, the help that is available can understand pathways that would be easier. My parents are the same. They'd take a buyback tomorrow. They were ready to go. They poured all of their capital into their renovation on the Wednesday. They flooded on the Monday and lost absolutely everything. Every single thing, gone. So, you know, that's an important thing to really pin down. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I was really hoping someone from, you know, from that sort of community, you know, for want of a better word, would mention that, because it's true. It's really true. Anybody else like to share? Oh, yep. Hello.
Hi, I'm Noelle and I'm from Mullumbimby, the Byron Shire, and we just want to say how sad we've been for Lismore, Wardell, Bungawalban,
Bundjulung,
and
Gowan.
Mawulamba, all of the places in the Northern Rivers, and I'm here because we feel that we just have to work together as the Northern Rivers to get more strength together and to put us all together. I just wanted to speak a little bit to the area that I'm in, and we are, apart from landslips and those buybacks, which are not travelling smoothly, we're mostly retrofit and house raise, and we have a different sort of topography to you, and we've been offered pretty much nothing because of the 1 in 20 year floods. So our thing is that, well, I've written a little thing which I'll read. I tried to think of a reason the NRCC would tell us that we would be helped to become flood resilient, and then continue to say they would for almost a year, as they held 75 community engagement sessions, pop-ups and meetings and Zoom meetings and personal one-on-ones. I personally went to about 7. It was after the phone calls at the end of July did the identification of the 1 in 20 year floods become significant, and only when the whole Shire of Byron was rejected on this basis, except for 10 identified as buybacks and 14 raises and retrofits from the 2,200 identified by councillors having been flooded. Only then did we realise that we've been strung along, putting off repairs so we could retrofit or raise, our lives on hold, waiting for something that wasn't coming. And I would like to acknowledge that we have been lied to. They continue to spend money on information sessions and encourage us to appeal. These things do not help us become resilient. Why? I don't know why you would do that to flood traumatised people. They have always had the figures, so they would have known early on that our Shire needed to be left off the to-do list. I guess that they are just not very good at their job. And because of this, I feel we should proceed without them in order to get some kind of result. In light of the fact that such a small amount will be helped in our shire, the issue still remains how to make our towns and homes a viable, safe place to live, grow, run a family business and invest in, to stop and mitigate the trauma and the ongoing trauma, the massive waste, the landfill, the financial loss and the inability for all to insure or reinsure. So for us, our best result at this stage, since there will obviously be, well, we're hoping that money will go to you guys of the greatest need, but we would like to approach a sort of interest-free loan to help people raise and retrofit, because I personally have a list of 120 people who need to raise their house, and nobody in the Shire is deemed as flooded. So we'd just like to reconnect with you guys and make sure that we all stick together to push forward the most needy and push forward other options that we do ourselves.
Thank you. I'd love to thank you so much. That was a really wonderful share. And, you know, everybody's from outside of the Lismore CBD so far. Thanks for this. This is I had a list of these sorts of things in case they didn't sort of pop up, and making my life really easy right now. It's wonderful. You know, it's sad that these are the things though. But, yes, that sort of thing, you know, the novel flooding, even though Mullumbimby is so prone to flood, the novel flooding across the region has been such an incredible issue, you know, the renewed shock, you know, having such people just not being prepared, essentially. And that, yeah, the solution for the buyback, the house raising, that's really interesting. That's a great offer. Is there anybody else that would like to offer their story? Yeah.
Hi, Nerily Williams from Bundjulung. Firstly, I'd just like to say thank you to the organisers for tonight. This is awesome. We need to show a united front of all of the Northern Rivers and get together and talk about this stuff and work out where we go from here. I was just wanting to add to what Debbie said a little bit about Bundjulung. We had water in our house for a week. We were one of the few that didn't evacuate in our area because we had animals and everything that we didn't want to leave. We were isolated on our property and trapped on our property for 8 weeks. The thing that I'd like to raise, though, is the SES, State Emergency Service. As we all know, is what SES stands for. We had an emergency. We have a very dear friend that is a member of that. I know he worked his butt off from sun up to sunset for months and checked in on us all the time as much as he could. But I can't speak for what happened in Lismore. Of course, I've heard lots of stories. Out in our area, though, SES were around. I think we saw them go past twice in the first week. After that, they deemed that the Bundjulung Creek was too dangerous for their vehicles after one of their boats got damaged. When they were warned not to go up further because it was too dangerous, they came back with a damaged boat. So they said, no, we're pulling out. They pulled out of our area. We were still isolated for 8 weeks with no support, little communication and no power. And the state emergency services could not support us. They are a state emergency service and they could not support us. They don't have enough equipment, they don't have enough people, they don't have enough funding, but above all, they don't have enough equipment. We need the government to support these guys. They're volunteers, but they need the support and funding for proper equipment so that we can rely, when there is an emergency in our area, we can rely on them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you so much for that. That's a really good point too, the amount of rescue and, again, community involvement. So I've just been asked to read the questions again just to try and, really get everybody going. So first off, is there anyone else that would like to share off the back of that story? Yes. Oh, just, that's the thing. Yeah, sorry.
So the focus is failure, the reason, damage, and trust. Was that the...
Yeah, great.
Okay, so we live in South Lismore, my family and I, and we got 3 metres of water above our ground level, and the reason for the failure. Let's talk about the NRRC. They made us wait for a year and then dumped us with nothing, and that's kind of hard because people about 20 metres away have been offered, over $600,000, and that's quite weird. So it would be nice to see a more evenly distributed form of help, even if it meant less. It's a bit strange that some people get total bailouts and other people get nil. And there's the exact same amount of danger. There's no way that those people are in at all a different situation from us. And I think, it was quite damaging being led on for a year and, I won't say lied to, but led on with promises. And that's a strange position to be in for a year when your house is wrecked and everything's wrecked and you're absolutely exhausted after it. It was incredibly exhausting. And that was extremely damaging to trust. Like, I don't know how the children are going to think about whatever it was that did that to us, Good, we need it. That's what we haven't had. We've been doom scrolling Facebook for about a year trying to work out what on earth's going on. Just kept in the absolute dark, forming conspiracy theories and... It's been bizarre. I did take some notes, but... Oh, maybe that's enough. Yeah, all right. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It's a really great share. Thank you.
Hi. I come from the Lantern Parade. I'm not going to talk about that right now. We were flooded, and I'm not going to talk about that right now. What I want to talk about is the number of people who, in our organisation, suffered so deeply in the flood. Most of them lived in flood areas. I was talking the other day with one of our volunteers who lives quite close to the river. Her place was severely flooded. She's just about to move back in. She's been offered a buyback, but she's not sure that she wants to leave. She would rather have some assistance to raise her house a bit higher. Her son lives across the road. Roads aren't very wide in that part of Lismore. He's been offered nothing. Is that you? There you go. How about that?
Wow.
Whoa. It's unbelievable. It's really hard to understand. And so it's not surprising that people are feeling suspicious and exhausted because they're getting so many answers that don't match. And I think that if we're looking at a reset down the line, there has to be absolute honesty and absolute transparency. so that we understand, and fairness. There just doesn't seem to be the fairness. Yeah. So, lots of stories.
Great, thank you. Yeah, the feeling of that after trauma it's akin to gaslighting. I don't think it's intentional, but it really certainly feels like that when you're grasping at straws, you know, and to keep safe with your family, particularly when you're just trying to keep your family safe. It's just huge. Would you like to add to your story?
Yes,
Sure.
so I've been doing the mic handing around, but I'm also in South Lismore. So I think it's very much a common story, hearing, you know, one person's getting offered buyback, I'm getting told I'm getting nothing, and that type of feedback from the NRRC is dividing communities when this is the time we really need to come together.
Great, well said.
So, and I just wanted to bring a little bit of data to that. So in Queensland, they actually use the 1 in 100 year flood level for retrofits, and they use the 1 in 20 year level for raising. The NRRC are using the 1 in 20 year level for both raising and retrofits, which means in areas like Lismore, particularly I can't talk about Bundjulung or other places, but areas like Lismore, most of the houses in the highest risk areas are already raised. So that type of data basically excludes people. It doesn't depend on their risk. It basically is just excluding people from any type of help. So I just wanted to bring in that type of information as to how that decision was made, because you can look at Queensland and it's a much better practice in terms of how things are rolling out.
Thanks, Harper. Thanks for that clarification. Would you like to...
I was in the house during the flood that has now been offered a buyback, and I'm quite familiar with all the land along the creek edge back there. And the claim is, with the red part on the map, is that it's erosion. But if you go and you look at the land down there, I did see one terrible photo of a house with a swimming pool going around. You might have seen that place. And the land had all dropped out from underneath it, but all along that red area, there's absolutely no erosion issue at all.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something quickly to the maps and things that they're using. Bundjulung area, they're using the 2010 flood mapping survey that was done. That survey states within itself that there is not enough data for a proper survey, and that's the material that they're using to determine our futures from. The reason for that is that in the Bundjulung catchment, which Debbie's already said is 3 times the size of the catchment above Lismore, there are 2 metre readers. I think above Lismore there's 20 odd. So when the flood happened, we actually had water waist deep in our house Sunday lunchtime. Lismore didn't get their flood come until Monday. Lismore didn't know that their water had nowhere to go because we already had major catchment fulfilment full below them. So the water here in Lismore had nowhere to go, but because they didn't have enough data, nobody knew.
Amazing, thank you. I think, river gauges in the mid to lower Richmond are a huge issue. I think they're an issue anyway, the way that they're, pushed around in terms of who's in charge of what. And I'm sure that 2010 data also assumed there was a levy. So that's also null and void. Great, that's really good. We are, it just went by in a whoosh. We've got time for I think 2 more? Goodness me, maybe 4 if we're super quick.
Hi, I've got the mic in. My name's Nicole. I am from Nimbin. I work at the Nimbin Neighbourhood Centre. I also am a resident of Nimbin, and we had in our area major issues with landslides. And I've seen in the response that in our area, there were some people who were hoping that maybe they might have been included in buybacks because their place is just not safe to live in anymore. And the other thing that I saw as a big issue was out our way, we needed geotechs. We needed to know what was safe and what wasn't, and it would be good to see if something to this magnitude happens again, that assistance from the government is provided. And a big shout out to the Richmond Landcare. They've been so supportive. They've given us so much support, and they actually got funding in the second week to send out a geotech who did assessments on our property. It wasn't a government thing, it was a funding they sourced. So big shout out to them, and thanks for all their support.
Thank you.
Great. Oh, and don't forget the Channon as well.
Yeah. Great, thanks for that share.
That would have been Emma Stone, would have had a lot to do with that, I think.
Oh, we might just shoot over here. Yeah, great.
My name's Naomi. I was a renter in the Lismore CBD flood zone, and I think that's, being renters have been dispersed all over Australia, really, and what concerns me a lot about the buybacks is that the houses will be demolished, at least that's how it's appearing, and they're perfectly good houses. They could be moved somewhere for renters and for anyone, buyback people, and we need to solve the housing crisis and solve the flood zone. So, people who rent need to be housed too, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you, great. I think there's a 29% of flood-affected people were renters, so thank you so much for speaking to that huge amount of people. Amazing. We've got someone with their hand up over the back here as well. And then we'll come to you, sir, in the front. Yep. Thanks.
I live in North Lismore, but I don't really want to talk about that. I want to talk about, as Naomi did, about the people who aren't here and often aren't talked about. My son lives with disability. He wanted to leave home, and he kind of did. He moved into a caravan on our land. He didn't pay us rent. After the flood, he got nothing, just nothing, no help at all. He's on the housing register for priority housing. You can't talk to DCJ about housing because they lost their building too. And if you ring them, it goes round in a loop. You don't get to talk to anybody. So there are many people in this community hoping for housing who don't have it, didn't have it before, lived in caravans before the flood, and are still waiting. I'm also a domestic violence worker, and I can tell you that the rate of domestic violence, of serious domestic violence, has escalated by 3 times in this community since the flood. And we have no houses, we have nowhere for people to go. So addressing this issue of what do we do with these houses, how do we find land, how do we put people on it, to me, is now the huge priority. And taking care of the people who can't speak out, who are dealing with so much that they can't be here to speak out for themselves.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Great. Yeah. Thank you. The gentleman down here in the front, Harper, this gentleman here.
After all these horror stories, this one should be a good news story. Should be. My daughter was flooded and she was able to move into my place. They were able, with her 2 kids and her 2 dogs and my 2 dogs and my wife, and it was a bit cramped, but we were okay. And she was dry and she had her computers and the clothes she stood in and nothing else. But we cleared her house out. We renovated it, renovations that possibly should have been done before anyway. We made it as resilient as possible, stainless steel kitchen instead of gyprock, instead of particle board, all those sort of things. No gyprock, lots of lining boards, so that if it floods again, it should be. The place is fantastic, she's really happy with it. And now she's been offered a buyback. And she's happy to take the buyback because she's in a flood zone and she wants to move her house. But the NRRC have decided in their wisdom that she can have I think perhaps if she jumps through all their hoops, she can get 10% deposit for a block of land, but she can't get any money to move the house, even though she's got what will amount to over $400,000 worth of equity. They won't release any funds, so she's in this awful situation where she could buy a block of land and move the house and just about scratch by with a mortgage she could afford, but she can't get the funds because the NRRC or their lawyers in their wisdom say, gee, sorry, yeah, well, you're going to have to go and find $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 before we'll release the money back to you. So, notwithstanding that she ought to be in a terrific position, in fact, they've blocked her off.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, great. One last one. Yep. One last one down here in the front.
Good evening, everyone. One of the things that was quite shocking for me, also as a person with a disability, as well as as a community person for people with autism in particular, a lot of mums and dads and all that were very concerned about relocating their change of spaces. You know, like a lot of things can contribute a lot of systematic or social shock to them. And, you know, there wasn't enough places for families to put their children or older children with autism or other disability allocated, like putting them in a shed at the SCU, even though it was a beautiful gesture from the university and no bad thing against that. But it made it difficult not having the provisions or the specialist supports that they needed to make, you know, the lives easier, especially after a terrible disaster or event like that. But what a beautiful community we have, and very proud of it. And, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So, ushers, how do we feel? Is that good? Do we feel like we've captured the community? Yeah? Can we just do one more right up the back? If we all consciously agree that it's going to make us a tiny bit over time at the end, it is our time.
Hey guys, I won't take up too much of your time. I just wanted to put it on a positive note and get every one of you to look at each other and realise that 6 weeks ago we did the NRC rally at the front, and there was maybe 20, 30 people there, and look at all yous today. Pulling them together for each and every one of yous is what you need to do. So be proud that you're here, because we're all going to do it together.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that. That's a lovely positive end for that. So I'd just like to thank everybody sharing. It was really, really a nice special space that everybody shared. We covered renters, disability issues, relocation issues. Spoke a lot about outside of this CBD, which was completely what was hoped by the organising group. We will be moving into another pile of things, and I'm going to pass you on to lovely Andy to explain all of those wonderful next bits.
Thank you. Well, very briefly, it's time for an interval. Get up, stretch your legs, and in about 5 minutes, the music's going to start, and the music's going to get 4 tracks. So come on in, come on down once you hear the music. But in the meantime, you're welcome to stretch your legs. Thanks, folks.
Up, down, down, up and down the Wilson Richmond River, stopping on the way. The river may be dirty now, but it's getting cleaner every day. People come, people go, people go, come up and down the Wilson Richmond River. Maybe dirty now, but it's
Permission allowed for dancing, everybody, of course. Thank you, Bella Frankie. Thank you so much. Hope everybody's coming back in, settling in. Bella Frankie are going to do 3 songs, 3 awesome songs, including the launch of their new single, Underwater House.
Home,
sorry. Underwater home. We don't care about underwater houses.
It's not just a house, it's a home.
Exactly.
That's it.
And just a reminder that if people can please sort of take their seats and enjoy this music, because this is a contribution to this conversation as well.
And no town knows better how to use creativity to contribute to the conversation like Lismore does. Wouldn't you agree? So this is a song I wrote as a broken-hearted song for my case manager when she wouldn't call me back. She's not calling me back. So this is a song called Cherylee, not her real name.
Why don't you call me? I'm sick of waiting by the phone. Oh, Shirley, I need you. I can't do this all alone. Ooh, I don't know, Shirley, I really need to move on. Tell me true, girl, tell a straight girl, what the hell's been going on? Oh, Shirley, don't bullshit me, 'cause this is the time to be frank, 'cause all I need, Shirley, is your cold hard love in my bank. Ooh, ain't you been missing me just like I've been missing you? I wanna hear you, I gotta feel you, I want your love back. Give me that love back. I want your love back. 'Cause it's better than being alone.
Thanks for that. I'm sure you're probably the audience that mostly will ever understand that song. Waiting around for Cherylee to call you back. I'm going to sing a bit more of a quieter one now. It's a song I wrote sort of in that like heartbreak moment about your house. just wondering where our relationship was going to go. I have got the buyback, but now I'm committing myself to more waiting around for Cheryl Lee, probably for a year or two. I'm going to try and move my house to somewhere out of flood, so I have to find land and all that. So I think it's worth it though, because a house is such a beautiful thing and I love it. I just love it so much. It was built in 1901. It's completely hardwood. It's been flooded so many times, but I want to keep that house. I just really couldn't bear to see it demolished. I couldn't bear it, honestly. So this one's called Underwater Home. Are we going straight in? Thank you. I feel so privileged to be part of this conversation in this way. Just been tinkering away on my songs the last year and a half. We've got an album coming out just in a couple of months. We're launching up at the Rochdale Theatre on the 7th of October, so come along to that. It's got these songs and a bunch of other songs, not flood related.
Not this next one.
They're all about animals, the other songs. Just go figure, floods and animals. It's called Cut Folk Fables, so we're looking forward to launching that. This is our last song for you tonight. Please feel free to sing along.
Yeah, you might know the words to this one, although we've changed a couple of verses to make it...
more relevant.
Make it into a folk song.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being
Thanks,
you
Eddie.
and coming along. Sticking at it. Thank you.
There's a track winding back to an old-fashioned shack along the road to Gundagai, where the blue gums are growing, the modern beach is flowing beneath that sunny sky. Where my mommy and daddy are waiting for me, and the vows of my childhood once more I will see. Then no longer I roam, 'cause I'm heading straight for home along the road to There's a tale left untold when Big River overflowed back in the flood of 1852. Well, Wiradjuri told them, but white folk wouldn't listen until they were screaming for their lives. Come at the hour and come at the phone. Jackie and Yari, 40 hours vote in their bar afternoon. 49, not just a few. They saved the white world from all Gundagai. There's a river from the hills winding down to a house on stilts on the floodplains of old Lismore. Well, the people got ready, big water on the levee, but no one predicted just how high. Come at the hour, come at the phone. Thousands of people were saved in little boats. Not the army, the aviation, not the air force. It was the good throne of old Lismore. Not the army, the navy, and not the air force. It was the good throne of old Lismore.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bella, Frankie. Another round of applause, please. In lyrical form, it was the good folks of Old Lismore. We all know it. So, who's the worst timekeeper on the stage? Definitely me. Everyone's talking too long and I don't feel like dinging, you know. Someone won't like me, I want to be liked. But just acknowledging that people are talking for like 2 minutes each, probably. Whether we can do anything about this, I don't know. But maybe set yourself a little timer on when you start talking. No, I will ding the triangle now. Don't be afraid to ding. Okay, good line. No, so now we're going to get into the second half. Facilitation will be the same. And I just want to say, I think there's some really practical things that we could hear in this half. So when we're looking at these questions, you know, what do you need to feel empowered and moving forward with your housing situation? Or what do you want to see differently in the reset? Let's be really practical and you know, put forward things that could be implemented, that we want implemented. So also we're about 5 minutes to 7 minutes behind schedule, just so you know, in case you had a hot date at 7:30. And over to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Andy. I'll miss the triangle. totalitarian in me. You can ding me. Go on. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. And woohoo, Bella Frankie. That was pretty great, hey? Whew, nice. So here we are in our second half. This is the solutions half. This is the reset half. That's what we're here for. Oh, yeah. So we're going to begin with a quick visioning exercise. So I know I just would like you all to humour me with this. I promise it's going to be awesome. I'm going to read it and everything because I wrote it and I thought about it. So here we go. Settle into your seat. Feel your bottom go nice and heavy. Take a breath. Soften your jaw. Lower your shoulders. Relax. Now I invite you to close your eyes. In the space of your head and heart, where all of that trauma and fight has been living for the past 18 months, I'd like you to imagine the most amazing solution for that space. I'd like you to imagine whatever that solution looks like to you. Your house completely fixed, maybe freshly renovated, maybe lifted, maybe moved to a hill, thinking of you, Harper, and me will be neighbours. Maybe moved away. Perhaps your solution includes your community or infrastructure to keep you safe. Maybe you just want to turn back time and magically hold back the water. Whatever your solution is, I want you to feel the warm resolve of it fill that space in your head and your heart. And before you open your eyes, I would like you to ask yourself if your vision is something you'd like to share. This visioning, this solution, it is our reset. Altogether, it is the fabric of our reset. It's the fabric of our community. All right, open your eyes, take a breath. Thank you for indulging in that exercise. I hope it has helped you feel more hopeful, just even for a minute. So, how does your solution fit into a practical reset framework? Again, we have 3 questions for you to ponder when you begin answering them and offering what you have to say. So number 1, what do you need to feel empowered in moving forward with your housing situation? Number 2, what do you want to see differently in the reset? A lot of that was identified or hinted upon in the first part, so I think we're really half the way there, quite literally. And what do you feel we need for an effective reset, one that you can trust? I think trust is the big one here. I think we can all agree on that. And in answering these questions, feel free to also share anything that has worked, even things you might be grateful for. So I've got a lot to be grateful for. Everyone in my little sphere, which stretches from Widjabal-Wiabal all the way down to the Clarence, everyone I know came out safe. That's my gratitude. Yeah. Yep, great.
Hi there, just to start off. Hi, I'm Aidan, Lismore. I mean, we can come up with many particular ideas, but before we get to that, the thing that really moves me is that we already are an empowered community, and we already, have shown that so many times. And the kind of reset I want to see is one in which we really draw on that strength and have government recognise that strength instead of try to work over the top of it. The reset I really want us to see is to say this community saved itself when it had to. This community, as Graham said, the beautiful anarchy that erupted, began its own reconstruction, and then somehow it got lost because there was a black box and an individuation of the process. And I think that's what we don't need. What we do know is we're empowered. We know we can do it ourselves. And when government comes along, we need them to get in behind with their big dollars and help our organisations and our community self-organisation and help us realise it for ourselves. And it's so sad that we've spent all this time losing our way because we were broken into individuals and broken into that sort of opacity of the process. And that's the kind of, before we get into the individual small, different things we want to see, I just think it's in the process where government sits down, brings its big bucks to town, but says, well, you are the people who know best how to do this and how to get it done.
Amazing, thank you. Thank you so much. Lyndall.
Thank you for those words. My name's Lyndall. I'm from Evans Head down in the Richmond Valley. When the devastating calls started coming through to our community at the end of June, 16 of us got together at the Woodburn Shed. 15 of that group were all flood affected, recognising the need to get our most vulnerable people in our community back into a warm house this winter. So on the back of that, we began the Hands and Hearts project, 100 homes, 10 days. We were a little bit ambitious. However, the project continues. We have completed 21 houses. We have 53 work in progress, and we have many more to go with a new commitment of beyond 100 homes as long as it takes. We're a bunch of volunteers. We've raised $62,000 and we've got 15 grand left. So we started with our old people that are living rough, either in tents, caravans, or in insecure houses that's with open doors and open windows. Single parents, people living with disability, or people with chronic illness. And the stories that I hear on a daily basis are truly heartbreaking, and I'm equal parts angry and just so sad. In terms of what a solution looks like, Woodburn still has no IGA. We have no fuel station, so that adds to the cost of living in an already rising cost of living for many across the nation, but it's further compounded the impact of this flood in our community. So I know there's some government people here today. Janelle was kindly at our rally in Woodburn a few weeks ago. That was 4 weeks ago, in fact, where we heard there would be a plan for a reset in 4 weeks' time. That's 3 days overdue at this stage, so we are still waiting. And I think waiting is the key. We have been waiting for 17 months. We continue to wait. People cannot wait any longer. I can't see another old person that's chronically ill and dying living in a really insecure, unsafe and cold home, and we are leaving Aussies behind. That's why we're standing up, because no Australian deserves to be left behind, and our community are being left behind, and we have the solutions. We are empowered communities. We are smart people. Come to the table, ask us how we're getting this done, give us the money we need, and we can get this done in a more efficient way.
Thank you, Lyndall. Just quickly echo both of those comments before we move on. I think we're going to have a lot of stories. I personally went to all of the inquiries all over the region, and every person that spoke that was a change maker, decision maker, I should say, thanked the community. There's been some funding. We've been thanked, but we haven't been funded. I know 3 hubs that are looking at closing at the end of the month, and they're still not even halfway through helping recovery. So, thank you and thank you. Amazing. Thanks for the work and thanks for bringing up both those points. Amazing. Yep. Thanks.
Super not easy to talk about this stuff. I have a few points that I've been carrying around on lots of little scribbled pieces of paper in my bag for days. I'm going to start with the hardest. Someone mentioned domestic violence. The first woman to die this year as a result of domestic violence was a 64-year-old woman, or the first reported woman known, was a 64-year-old woman, Lindy Lucina. I don't know how to pronounce her name. She was living in a caravan after losing everything in the floods. She was on the streets in Ballina. Somebody else mentioned the SES and that they should be better equipped. I think the SES that I spoke to at 2 in the morning, I think that's a great point, and of course the SES deserves to be fully equipped.
But I think the person that I spoke to at 3 a.m. From our dark attic with 4 metres of water underneath us, they had the equipment required, but it wouldn't matter how much resources they had. They were not coming out to get us out of the dangerous situation we were in, which was kind of okay in a way, because it meant that we were incredibly empowered when we realised that we needed to save ourselves and find our own solutions. We didn't save ourselves, obviously the community turned up. I didn't swim off the roof of the house. So thanks to my boat guide, didn't get your name, tried to kiss you. I don't want to be made more vulnerable. So I found a solution after many, many months to my housing situation and rent now in North Lismore, not Hobart, and as part of the buyback, we'll be evicted. So I'm with 2 kids. Our names are not known to the company, the NRRC that will evict us, are unaware of the names even of the people that they're evicting. Obviously, it's not just us. I wouldn't take the microphone just to speak my own case, but there are many people. A third of the people who went through the flood were renters, and their needs are fully not being met. Not only are they not being met, but the solutions that they find are being taken away from them. Thanks for speaking about the vulnerability. I don't want to become a woman in a house with no windows and doors. I'm in a house with windows and doors. Don't take it away. There's people who organised tonight's event. We'll be going to their eviction event after this. It's completely unacceptable. I think a solution would be to stop the evictions now. There's also someone in this... stop the evictions now and know our names. Someone mentioned interest-free loans to raise property owners' homes. What kind of amount of money is that? And would someone who didn't own a house be available? Would it be possible for them to get an interest-free loan to acquire one of the many houses that an investor owns and gives up in the buyback? Also, there is... it's not that difficult. I know someone in this audience who has a safe, warm place where they live out of the flood. They have a place, they have a partner and their flood house, they're not going to take the buyback. It was in a really poor state and run down, but they have handed it over rent-free to essentially a caretaker's agreement. And so there's a 10-year-old and a 50-plus whatever-year-old warm and safe in a house, and everyone's happy. It's mutual aid, I think you call it. So I want to thank Raw, and I could thank Raw for days, but my time's up.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Some more representation to that 29% of renters. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just wanted to talk, my name's David. Just wanted to talk about the reset, and I think that what we've really got to do with the reset is try and look forward about what's going to happen next. And I think that the elephant in the room is climate change. We haven't spoken about climate change yet, but it's here. You just have to look around the world and see what's happening and all over the world. We know it's going to get worse. Global emissions are going up. We are going to face a situation like this again and again and again. Now, the problem with the reset is that it's not with the maps, it's not with the inequities of some people getting buybacks and some people not. It's about a lack of money. We need the state government to come in here and provide that second tranche of money that we're all expecting. Everybody who wants to leave in the floodplain should be able to leave. They should not be forced to stay there. And that is going to solve a lot of the problems for many of the people here. I don't know whether this will happen, but we've got our fingers crossed, hoping that it will. And we'll be watching the buybacks very carefully and also this reset, whether we're going to get the money. And without that, we're in big trouble. These floods are going to keep coming, they'll probably get bigger, and we need to get people safe off the floodplain and into safety.
Great, really well said, thank you.
G'day everyone, my name's Pat. I'm pleased you brought up climate change. I live in South Lismore. I'm in Engine Street. I'm in a little tiny caravan. We have got a really hot summer coming, and I am really concerned for everyone's well-being that is in the same position. How are we going to survive summer if we are struggling to survive winter and the floods that are here? I just want to acknowledge that makes me really frightened. The heat that's coming.
Thank you. I'd like to honour your coping. 100%. Thank you. Harper, yeah?
G'day. I would like to second what this lady over here, who may or may not have named herself or introduced herself, said about the eviction that's going on. I myself and my partner, we are renters. We love the place that we're renting, and from very early on, we knew that it was part of the buyback scheme from day one. We've been there 5 months, or 4. And so we got in contact with the realtors and the owners in regards to buying the house. We both work full time, and yeah, we started speaking to a broker, etc. Now, that was an option, and possibly continues to be. However, we are in a position where we do not want to jeopardise the owner's possibility of a buyback, and yet, at the same time, I have 2 children, my partner has a dog, we're looking at the rental market. It's not easy, as anyone can acknowledge. I'm looking at potentially trying to buy a flood-affected home, alternatively, that might be cheaper and more viable in the long run than entering the rental market. So what I'm trying to say here is that my proposition would be to the NRC, to begin with, we don't want to get evicted. Can we continue our rental with the NRC? Do we have to have the house completely cut off? So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say I think we need to start making more noise just about the second round of funding. We were really loud a few weeks ago, then I feel like it's just gone a bit quiet. So yeah, I really think we should speak up again and try to get the minister here. And yeah, I also wanted to say I went into the bank and I told them about my situation, that my house got flooded and all this. And they actually put me on a zero interest, sorry, a bit nervous. They put me on a zero interest loan for a year. So I just want to say that in case, anyone wants to try that, go speak to your bank and tell them you're struggling, because it's really helped me. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Yep, over here.
I am a writer, and there's a solution fix climate change. And honestly, we all know the solution. It's pretty easy, just renewable energy.
Awesome.
And yeah, there was someone earlier that talked about the drought that's going to come. Yeah, I've heard about that. And we have lots of time to fix it before the drought.
We do. We absolutely do.
And I don't want stuff like this to happen, not like a bigger flood than what we went through last time. Like, oh, man. It was big, yeah.
It was.
I've got my home rebuilt now, but yeah. Yeah, that's the speech. I just need to say that there's a solution. We all know it, and we should get right on doing it.
Thank you.
Right.
Ryder, thank you so much. I see you. I see you, my friend. I see you, and I see your future. I see you. I've got 2 little boys. You know, your friends, you know. I see their future too. It frightens the hell out of me. You're going to make me cry. So, yeah, 100%, man. Peace. Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I've got the microphone. Sorry, it's me again. A couple of weeks ago, there was a similar gathering to this, where people like Sue were here and a lot of other faces I recognise tonight. Lots of things were said there, but one of the things that came out of that, which I think fits into our solutions element here, is the fact that things have been really slow for the last 18 months, and then all of a sudden, everywhere we look, there are these fences with writing and pictures on them, and there's all sorts of gossip and talk and wondering about whether or not this house is going to be demolished, whether it's going to be smashed up, or what's going to happen to these beautiful timbers and these beautiful houses. Not all of them. Looking back again, when we were all bright-eyed and looking forward and hoping that things were going to be good and that there was a future, one of the things that was talked about was land, and that land would be moved, made available a little bit faster than the incredibly slow, tedious processes that goes through governments and councils. And that there would be a concerted effort by the powers that be to make land that's safe and appropriate and available for the people who have to move out of danger, so that we can move together, or fortunately it's not me personally, but that people can move together as a community. And nothing has been happening with that. There's silence. Maybe in the back rooms there's something going on, but we don't know about it. And what came out of that gathering the other night was a petition and a request that things slow down. There's a phrase that's something like, move forward with haste slowly. And that we should take care and have a moratorium of smashing the buildings or moving the buildings until there is an opportunity for people to buy them and move them to safe ground in Lismore, so that our businesses can survive, so that our rates can be paid, so that Lismore stays alive. If we move way, way away, there's no Lismore.
Thank you. Yeah, I think there was some answering to that from Janelle's office, and yeah, it's certainly an area that I've got a lot of interest in. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
I think so. This area, what we're doing now is about solutions. Now, I've been very fortunate, despite being flooded. I had a lot of people came and helped me clean out the house, and some very good friends helped me rebuild. And I'm now in the process of turning it into a cooling hub, because we're about to face a very serious heat wave. A heat wave that is destroying, well, causing lots and lots of loss of life through southern Europe, right? So that's coming. At the moment I'm putting shade cloths externally to the doors, I'm fixing up all of the insulation, the air conditioning has been fixed, and I have a significant solar system, and I'm encouraging other people to create cooling hubs, which we need. Ellie Bird mentioned this the other day. We have to have cooling hubs. So if you have a house that you think you can retrofit adequately, or you can put external shade cloth, or you can create a cool area, it's time to do so. I will be opening my house, and I take this opportunity now to anybody who is in caravans or tents or feels that they're in danger, that they can come to 6 Slater Street. It's a very large house with a bottom story. Obviously, we can't all go there, but but I have a feeling that the supermarkets will fill up, and the bars will overflow, and we will have cooling. But you're welcome, depending on the numbers, to come to 6 Slater Street. And please, if you can turn your place into a cooling hub, now is the time. Now is the hour. Yeah? Now is the hour. Not when the heat wave is upon us and it's too hot to do anything.
Where did you get the money from?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm lucky, aren't I? I work, I've got a decent enough earnings, and so if you can't do so, then you can't. But if you can, now is the hour. Yeah?
And then to offer it. Thank you so much. So generous. Thank you. Thanks for the information, and thanks for the very kind offer to the community for when it gets hot. I'll remember. I'll be there. Yeah.
So, quickly, I just got asked to speak to something on behalf of somebody. So quickly, from what you were saying with your beautiful offer as well, is I just want to keep drawing on what Queensland do. In Queensland, they actually got $50,000 back to home equivalent. In New South Wales, we only got $20,000. So that really limits people's ability to be able to create cooling hubs, or to be able to retrofit their homes, or get solar systems and these types of things, particularly in areas where they're not eligible for buybacks and they're told that they're getting nothing. So that's a really big concern for a lot of our community. The thing that the person asked me to speak to was the demolition of our hardwood homes. So this person is in a house that can't be raised, and they would like to be able to purchase a home under a buyback where the person doesn't want to take that home, and be able to use that to house them and their family on this land that was supposed to be available months and months ago. Again, I really think that comes back to the failures of the communication on the NRRC. So the horse has gone before the cart in a lot of ways. So I think that that's really fundamental for our recovery, in terms of, don't just give people money and say, well, you know, you can stay there but you've got no other options of where to go. Actually enable them to have an option to stay in their community, to stay here. And another person who came up to me earlier and said that they're a part of the Resilient Land House Relocation Pilot Program, they've apparently been told the land's in Mullumbimby. This person's in Lismore. So why are we trying to split up our community when Lismore needs to stay together, Bundjulung should stay together, Woodburn should stay together? As much as possible, we should be keeping our communities together, because that's what's beautiful about our community. That's what saved us at the start, and that's what's going to save us at the end. And I think the NRRC's approach completely disregards that, and I think that that's a part of our recovery, is removing that approach. And whether that's the people, whether it's the ideology, I don't know. I don't have the answers for that, but I think that that's fundamentally what has to change to move our community together and to start healing and growing, and to build a flood resilient and a resilient future for heat waves, floods, for our future generations. Not just for me, not just for my house, but for the people that can live in there in the future, and so on and so on.
Wonderful. Thanks, Harper. Lots of wonderful, really wonderful points. Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't condemn any of that, what you've said. That's perfect. People have got to stay together and work together. People power is the only one that's going to win, and all these politicians and all these other people upstairs that are holding up things, red tape, whatever it might be, they've got to realise that we're all voters, and being voters, we can change things. And they've got to realise that we're not just going to sit back and take it. North and South Lismore's been hit pretty hard, and a lot of other places too. I've been a Southie most of my life, and as far as I'm concerned, we've got the same rights as everybody else. Now, people make promises in Parliament or wherever they make it for everybody to get a fair go. Obviously, we're all here tonight because we're not getting a fair go. So it's time that people power put them on notice and tell them that we are voters, and if they don't do the right thing and don't stand up to the commitments that they've made, if they've made a mistake, that's their problem. They've made an offer, and if they renege on that offer, they deserve to lose. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Got one more up the back.
Yep, wonderful.
I just wanted to say on a practical level, if we all need to work together, which we do, we need to have one central communication system, because trawling through Facebook, trying to find out what Mullen, Wardell, Mwoolumba is doing is just crushing and boring. And you miss out on things. The other week, Wardell had a march over the bridge the other month. I would have gone to that, but didn't see it till after it had actually happened. Just lucked onto this, and this is happening repeatedly across all the LGAs. We need one central form of communication so that everyone can just go look at that and get up to date with whatever anyone's doing anywhere.
Thank you very much. I worked on a model to try and do exactly that about 2 months after the flood, and Police Commissioner Mel Lanyon thought it was a great idea too. So, yeah, I completely agree. Sorry, I just had to add my 2 bob there. If we could communicate, we could join together more easily too, it would increase our voice.
G'day, hi, I'm Maddie. I'm speaking somewhat reluctantly as someone who lives in Lismore Heights and has always just managed to dodge a flood myself. But I'm speaking alongside and with you all with a real big heart, just to say that this is an amazing big step to gather together, and that Reclaim Our Recovery and all those involved, this is what we need to keep doing. I've lived here since 2006, and somehow, and it's a bit embarrassing, but I've ended up actually, because of my concern as a young person about climate, and since 2017 I've been thrust and thrown myself into disaster work, and it's a bit, it's bizarre, to see that we've had to deal with these compounding climate catastrophes, on and on and on again. So I'm really grateful. Thank you, Ryder, and thank you others for bravely and boldly speaking about climate. We need to find ways to survive here into the future. I've had the privilege to be working as part of a flood recovery support service for the last 10 months. And I just want to encourage anyone out there who's not engaged with a service. They're not the full answer. Community-led is the way. Helping each other is the way, and I just want to encourage anyone who's not directly flooded, please keep reaching out to those who have been flooded. Please offer your help to advocate, to appeal with the NRRC, help them do the paperwork, sit with them and help them carry that burden, because hope is not lost. I know for a fact that climate was not considered in the maps. Future climate risk was not considered in the maps, and that is of great concern to me. And I just want to say your voice and your individual experience does matter, and every piece of information about what you've been through, every single thing you've had to do, every single way that you've been impacted. Please keep meeting with local politicians. Please keep advocating for yourself. And if you're so exhausted, which of course you are, please engage with a local flood recovery service. You can Google them. I won't name them right now. But please look for them, because there are people out there who want to help, and there's opportunities to be supported, to continue to advocate, and we just have to keep helping each other to do that. Thank you so much for tonight, and thanks for letting me speak.
Thanks, Maddie. Wonderful, thank you. If we get that framework up, the hubs will be easier to find. Yeah, great.
Hi there, my name's Meredith. I work as an NDIS support coordinator, and I have a number of disabled participants who are severely impacted by the flood, including myself. I would like to thank you for having Auslan interpreters here tonight so that the deaf community have clear access to this information, and that's one thing where NRRC fell down badly. Their physical access and communication access was very poor. So I thank you for having them here today, and let's hope that when we talk about having good communication, that it is inclusive communication for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we're down to the last, say, two.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Pip Rose. I live at East Lismore. I would really be interested if Lismore Council and possibly the politicians here could identify the land, which bits of land could houses be relocated on. I live near Lismore Golf Course, 100 acres or so, 37 hectares, most of it out of the flood. It would be a beautiful mixed zone for business and residential.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I put a 7-page submission in after the flood when Lismore Council asked for ideas. I walked around it, I took photos, I made a map. This is what you could do, put the roads here, put the houses here, put the businesses here. Well, yeah, great idea, but nah, we like golf. And so that went out the window. And the other controversial piece of land, of course, is the North Lismore Banyam-Bagan Hill, which, you know, fortunately was saved for the traditional owners and sacred sites that are on it, but that's the obvious piece of high land closest to North and South Lismore. So I'm wondering what can be done. Where's the high land that would be available? Answers, please.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I own a house in East Lismore where my mum was living, and she's only alive today because of friends and volunteers. She was trapped, but she got rescued. But moving forward, yes, there will be another one. So I guess my question is, how have the state and federal governments moved forward with the CSIRO recommendations for improved weather monitoring? They had 3 recommendations: that they improve the stream flow gauges, improve to make a better model for the hourly forecasting of the rainfall. And I can't remember the third one, but they're there in that report that they wrote. Because one of our issues was, prior to the flood, there was the smaller flood, and there'd been record-breaking rainfall in Queensland. So I was very concerned there was going to be a record-breaking rainfall here, but we weren't given the adequate warning. And I still don't feel like for the next one we're going to get adequate warning. I couldn't get my mother to come to our place because there was no official warning. I was watching weather watchers in Queensland who were saying, look out, but there was no official warnings that were adequate and timely and accurate. And if we're going to stay there, if planned retreat's not going to be a thing, I want proper warning, so at least every time it does come, I don't want to ask volunteers to do what they did again. Thank you. I'm very grateful they did, but thank you.
Thank you so much. Great points. One last one. I'm getting eyeballed by the timekeeper. Oh no, not you. I'm allowing more and more. He's like, come on. I know, right? That bloody triangle, it's actually my triangle. I know, I wanted to play a song. Anyhow.
Hi, I'm Judith. We've come here as part of today to talk about the reset. I have been away for the best part of 6 weeks. Chris Minns came to town in, I believe, in April and used that term, reset. I'm wondering what it actually means, and do we know what it means, how it's funded, who's running it, and what are the outcomes supposed to be about a reset? I'm not sure that it's community-led. It's just more terminology. We're talking about it. We need to know what that means and what the funding is that's associated with a reset. I'm not sure if Janelle and others who are in government might be able to answer this question, but I think we need to have some sort of substance to the term so we know what we're dealing with.
Great points. We do have a lot of very important listeners in the room, so now I've noticed both Janelle and Sue busy scribbling everything everybody's saying. So yeah, I completely hear that 100%, and I'm just hoping that this gathering that everybody's made this wonderful effort to be part of can just start it. I hope it just flies off in every direction and hits all the walls, to be quite honest. So here we come. I need glasses to read any sort of a thing, Andy. It's that time in my life. Okay, so here we are at the consensus exercise at the end of the evening, where we're going to have a look at the people power in the room by shows of hands. So I have, based off some of the input, a set of statements and questions, and I will state the question or the statement, and if you are in agreement, I think that's how it's going to do. Yeah. So a show of a hand would be a show of agreement towards the statement. Yeah? So we can see. All right, here we go. Do you want the grassroots community to lead in this recovery with adequate government funding? Whoa, lovely. Okay. Number 2, do we need more transparency from the process? Yeah, this is easy. I wish I was asking, is everyone going to give me $1 million? Just, wishful thinking, who knows? Number 3, do we agree we need tranche 2 funding? 100%. 4, and here we go into Andy's writing. Should good houses not be demolished? It's, yeah. And tenants, oh, hang on. I thought it was 5, but it's a, yeah, yes, come on. Yeah. All right, and tenants, okay, actually it goes on. There's 4, it's got a side B to it. Tenants of buyback homes not be evicted until the house is being relocated. So should we address the buyback to allow for habitability prior to, so a long settlement, yada, yada, yada. Yep, I think we all agree, 100%. That needs to happen. So I believe there'll be a lot of themes that will come out of this. There'll be, a bit of a grouping of the feedback. I would also like to ask, unless Andy was going to, would you all like to try and do this again and make it bigger and, really hit some issues? How's the support for that? Yeah, great. Yeah. I do know that there's a hope for some of the communities to have their own forum moment like this as well. So I think that will increase a swell of support for a reset, and we just frame that. That's my understanding of it. Yes, so. Yes. And is that something that needs to be on? Yeah, thanks, Sue. Climate change. Can we, yeah. I know a lot of people in the community that have direct, solutions towards climate change that really look at hydrology quite specifically and farming practices quite specifically, things that are really smart and really doable. So, yeah, down with fossil fuels. And so I think that really concludes my role here as facilitator. I want to say a big thank you to everybody here for having me. I hope I held you well. I love you, I see you, like I said, I'm part of this whole community, and I 100% try to serve in my own little way. So thank you, and thanks to Raw for, doing the thinking and the planning and the meetings, all the meetings, and to Eddie Lloyd for dragging me in, because she's just rad like that. I'd also like to thank, personally like to thank Sue and Janelle for coming along, and I'd also, thank you. And I'd also like to thank, we do have members of the NRRC in the room. They're very keen always to hear, so I'd really like to thank their attendance 100%. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of our community, because you are. And thanks for showing up, I would have liked you all in 2017, but good to see you here now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sarah. Just to finish off, let's have a big round of applause for everyone here in the room contributing to this conversation. You can't have a conversation by yourself. Thank you, everyone who's spoken. And I think, let's keep the applause going for the people who have been there for each other for a long time, Just look around and think about the people who've helped you out since the floods, who've been there, who've rescued, all these things. There's so much gratitude that we have, I'm sure, in this room. I'd like to thank the filmers who've been here, setting up, so many volunteers capturing this, and as I said, it's going to be shared around. And yeah, we're going to use that as evidence. We've got a bit of a mandate there, right? The people in this room had strong consensus around a number of important issues, and so maybe we have a right to demand that happens. So let's not forget that. We are here this was organised by Reclaim Our Recovery, which I said is a grassroots community group that believes that the community should be leading in this process. So there's ways to continue this. One is, as you leave, there's a QR code with that you can fill out a feedback form. You can say how this went. You can say what other conversations you'd like to see happening. Please do that so that we can improve, so that we can know what's been good about tonight. And as has been mentioned, there's a couple of surveys that are going through the community about the lands, about the demolitions. So get online and fill out those surveys as well. And I think it's been a big reminder of the community coming together. That is the thing. So we need to keep coming together, keep showing up. Two final things. So one, I'm definitely going to get something to eat at the Sherwood after this, and I invite other people to come join if you're keen. And lastly, I think we should all have a big photo together for everyone who's here, because this is people power. This is showing up, and this is really important. So I'd like to invite everyone to come, I reckon, to the front here, and then we're going to get a photo from the back of everybody. So if that's okay, come and stand up, and we've got photographers.